Radio.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Who are the three most important Phillies and three most important Eagles this week? Three most important Phillies to get back on track, and three most important Eagles to win this week against Detroit. Training the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front. Joel Embiid
And Philadelphia has it.
What is up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like this, share this, retweet this, follow on all social media platforms. Make sure if you're watching on the YouTube page, you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button. Also, if you are watching on the other sites, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, head over to the YouTube page. It's the best place to watch and get interactive with the show. Your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, everything can be heard right there on the YouTube page. I am Phil Stifle, your host at Bearded Knowledge. Joining me today, we got Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651. Good morning, Jason. How you doing today?
Doing all right, man. It's almost pitch black outside.
It is a rainy ass miserable day.
This is like sleep weather.
Dude, it is definitely don't get out of bed weather. There's literally zero doubt in my mind about that.
Oh, absolutely. If we weren't doing a show right now, that's where I'd be.
I'd still be up because I got to go to work. But it's one of those days where you brew an extra big pot of coffee, you stay home, you watch some stupid movies, you watch podcasts, and bitch and moan about the Eagles and the Phillies and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically what kind of day.
A perfect day for everybody to be watching Trending. Monday, our day after Monday, Overreaction Monday, and what crazy things are going to come out of our mouths today, Phil?
Yeah, exactly. How am I going to turn you red is the question. Okay. So, all right. So I'm trying to think of what we're going to talk about today and what topic as we continue to lead. We got a big week of Phillies baseball. We got week 1 of Eagles football against Detroit Lions. I was trying to think of how I'm going to phrase today's conversation. What's going to be the starter of the conversation today? So I was starting to think, I'm like, we've got this Phillies starting a 9-game stretch here, 6 games this week against the Marlins and the Nationals. Obviously, very, very important week to kind of get the bad week out of our mouths and taste out of our mouth and move on to this week. So I'm thinking, all right, well, who are the most important Phillies to get this team turned around? I'm like, boom, done. There's the topic for the day. Who are the 3 most important Phillies? And then second half of the show, the 3 most important Eagles this week. Not for the whole season, just for this week. Who's most important for us to beat the Lions? Who's most important for us to go 5-1 this week as a Phillies team? Maybe 6-0? Dude, it would be fantastic if they went 6-0. It's hard to imagine that, but is it crazy, Jason, to say the Phillies need to go 5-1 this week against the Marlins and the Nationals?
I mean, I'd like to see a sweep, to be honest with you, because that's.
I would like to see it too, but it's really hard to say. We need them to sweep back-to-back series. You know what I mean? It's almost. You saw us sweep the Reds and then almost sweep the Pirates. You come up short in that last game, which was a big loss right there. It's really hard to say. Let's hope our team sweeps back-to-back series.
Yeah, I think 5-1 would be definitely above expectation, because I always I've been me, man. I've been trying to be positive with this team. Even when I kind of start to get negative and feel like the team's falling off a cliff, I try to keep a perspective that this team is different than prior Phillies teams that have collapsed the last few years. It has a lot more talent on paper, but the problem is paper doesn't play the games. Paper doesn't manage this team. And listen,
that's the dream team on paper, the Eagles right there.
Well, and listen, man, I know that you and I have kind of got into it about Rob Thompson, but I don't want you to think for a second that I'm not criticizing the guy, because I do believe he has struggled, especially the last couple weeks. He's shown major deficiencies, like, because the one thing that I've saw from Rob Thompson from day one that he took over was the ability of this team to kind of fight adversity and kind of, whenever they lose a couple, have, a bad loss or two, they
Right.
come back with, a good win or two. And they haven't done that over this 2-week stretch. It's kind of been almost all negative. And a lot, listen, I know a lot of that's out of their control, but injuries are a part of the game. Like you said, they're not an excuse. At the end of the day, you still have to find a way to win.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely. And you're not going to be here tomorrow, but the managers are going to be, and the head coach, that's going to be the topic or the key jumping off point tomorrow. Rob Thompson, Nick Sirianni. That's where we're going to get into them tomorrow. But today I want to talk about the players themselves. So I'm thinking we got the Marlins, we got the Nationals. I made up really quickly before the show a quick graphic. Here, I'm going to pop it up over our faces for a minute. To me, these three Phillies, in this order actually, need to step up the most this week. I've got Aaron Nola, number one. And now that I'm looking at this graphic, I didn't really line up that number one really well. It's a little off center. Kyle Schwarber, number two. Bryce Harper, number three. Now, let me explain to you why I've got this in this order. All right. We're going to go backwards first. Okay. Bryce Harper, number three on the list. Yes, Bryce Harper is back. Bryce Harper is back to being, the leader of this team. But what is he? I mean, he gives you that. We talked about, would we get that spark from Bryce Harper being back? Kind of like we got that spark from Rob Thompson when he took over as manager. And while you kind of saw the spark in AAA when he was rehabbing, and I know he's had a couple of big hits, I kind of feel like the spark hasn't been there. It hasn't lit the rest of the team up the way you would expect it. Does that make sense what I'm saying there?
I mean, it's almost crazy to look at it this way.
Almost
Since
a negative spark, right?
Since Harper's come back, they've been bad. Like the
Yeah,
team has
exactly.
been bad, not Harper. But yeah, I agree. Like it's almost had an opposite effect on what you would expect. I get what you're saying. You're not talking about Harper being bad. You're talking about we need Harper to have like a 2 or 3 home run game, 2 or 3 home runs in a week and start having some game-winning hits, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we need that fire there. So I've got him as the most important guy, or the third most important guy. Number two, Kyle Schwarber. Now, I had his numbers up. I went back to the schedule, so I'm going to guesstimate his numbers here. He's had 3 home runs since the start of August. He has driven in like 10 runs total in the last 5+ weeks of baseball. His average is still just hovering. He's getting a few base hits here and there, 1 or 2 doubles here or there. But Kyle Schwarber being the leadoff hitter, that's the table setter. That's the guy that sets the tone for the offense right from the get-go. Kyle Schwarber needs to find that power swing again. Find that stroke again. I mean, Jason, I'm pretty sure you put Kyle Schwarber around the All-Star break around 55, 56 home runs. Yeah, that doesn't look like it's happening. He's going to struggle to get to 42, 44 home runs at this pace. You're paying the guy to be the power hitter, the leadoff hitter. You're paying him big money. Nick Castellanos is out now for this team. This was your other big free agent signing. Kyle Schwarber needs to step up massively right now, not just this week, the rest of the way. I mean, he's gone back into one of his funks, and every time he goes into one of these funks, he breaks out of it eventually. But it's time for Kyle Schwarber to break out of that slump right now. Not that we can't wait another week for it. It has to happen today.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think we've seen what Kyle Schwarber is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
The June Schwarber, the July Schwarber. Where is that Schwarber? Because, like I said, you don't just forget how to hit a baseball,
Exactly.
and you don't just like lose the ability to hit home runs. Like I don't know if it's. I tend to believe that a lot of times in baseball, more so than any other sport, a lot of times when people struggle, it's mental.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't I mean, mental happens in football, basketball, hockey, but I think in baseball, if things start getting in your head, you could see guys have longer slumps. Like, I think that's what happened with Castellanos. I just think he got completely lost and in his own mind. And he signed that big contract. You've brought up multiple times, the A-Rod example, where A-Rod said,
pressure gets to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think Kyle Schwarber is kind of in one of those things where it's like he's in his own head. I think he just needs to get back to basics. And that's what really it comes down to. I think a lot of times.
Here's a really interesting question. It just popped. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And I want you to answer before I do. Is it too late in the season to shake up the lineup drastically?
I actually don't think so.
We did see when Schwarber was out, Bryson Stott lead off. And he performed pretty well, in my opinion. And I think he's a candidate to be the leadoff hitter next year. Does Kyle Schwarber? We talked about it for months, and they never did anything with Nick Castellanos. Shuffling him up, bumping him down to the 7 or 8 hole, take the pressure off of him. Is this a scenario where maybe because you're without Castellanos now for the foreseeable future, you shuffle up the lineup? You go Stott, Hoskins, Bohm, or Stott, Hoskins, Harper. You put Hoskins or Bohm in the 4. I don't know. Some kind of slight rearrangement where you get Schwarber out of that leadoff spot, put him in a place where he could just try to hit home runs, and Stott. I mean, he's now up to over 230. That average, you can't tell me there was a part of the season where you didn't think Bryson Stott was ever going to get to 200, let alone 230. You know what I mean? It's just, is it too late to do that?
I mean, I don't think so. I think the way this team's playing right now, they need that jolt. They need something to kind of shock this. We've talked about it. Shock this system. Like, you have to do something drastic when your team is starting to free fall, which this team is, and you've had implosions in years prior. And I get it. It's a different team on paper, but there's still quite a few of the same players. I mean, Segura's still here. Obviously Harper's been here the last, 4 years. You got, obviously the new guys, maybe they're not as used to this. Bohm and Stott. I would absolutely think about putting Stott in the leadoff, and the reason I would say this is because you haven't gotten any production out of Schwarber in the leadoff hole for the past month and a half. So what is the difference if you move him? Like everyone wanted to tell me, oh, well, don't move him, don't fix what's not broken. Well, it's broken, folks. He hasn't done anything the past month.
Literally, I forget the exact. I think it's 3 home runs and 10 RBIs since August 1st. And I didn't even look into July to see how late in July did the slump start. So, I mean, he's just hovering his average. His OPS is down to 800 flat. If he goes 0 for 4 tonight, he's below 800. So,
I mean, all the OPS nerds.
Kyle Schwarber is what he's always been, a streaky power hitter that will always finish around 210, 220 in batting average, hit a ton of home runs, and then have 6-week stretches where he just goes ice cold. So, look, I'm asking, is it too late? Because we are into September. We're in this playoff push. We've now our lead over Milwaukee because we were off. Milwaukee won. It's down to 2 games now for that last wild card spot. We've got a very crucial week here. I don't know. It might be too late to make a major shakeup, but a major shakeup might convince somebody like me that, hey, Rob Thompson's not scared to do what's necessary to get this team back on track. It could actually earn Rob Thompson some credit in my book that he's willing to, make the tough decisions. And I'm not saying put how old's Bryson Stott? 22, 23, whatever he is. It's not easy to put a 22-year-old kid in the leadoff spot in September of a playoff chase. That's not an easy thing to do. But that kid is confident up there. I remember watching. I know he struck out in the 6th or 7th inning against Carlos Rodon with the bases loaded on Sunday. But there were a couple other at-bats this weekend, high leverage situations where he just looked so confident up there at the plate. Like he knew he was making contact and driving that ball every time he swung that bat. I don't know. Kyle Schwarber is important for me to step up because I don't think they're going to move him out of that leadoff spot. But maybe it is time to consider putting him in the 4 or 5 hole now.
I mean, I would. I would do it in a second. I think it's something that is a long time coming. I've been wanting it, and I know that I got criticized for it, but
I will lock it up. He is not the leadoff hitter next year. Whether it's Bryson Stott or whether they bring in somebody else to play center field or shortstop, whatever they do with this team next year, Kyle Schwarber would be the 5-hole hitter next year. I guarantee it.
Not a true leadoff hitter. The only reason he's been a leadoff hitter with the Phillies is because he had one good year doing it with Boston. He's not a
we didn't have it. We didn't have anybody to put in the
leadoff. Yeah, exactly. That's the real reason. It's not because he's the prototype leadoff hitter. He's not.
Right. He's not.
Really,
not even.
He belongs in the 4 or 5 hole. That's what he is. That's what he was with the Cubs, and he was successful at it.
Let me bring this graphic up again. Number 1 on my list. Again, ignore the fact that number 1 next to his picture is not centered properly. I rushed these graphics before the show started here. I got another one for the Eagles here. I rushed it a little bit. Aaron Nola, excuse me, most important Philly this week. There's 2 reasons. Reason number 1, he pitches twice this week. He's the only pitcher that's on the rotation to pitch twice this week. He's pitching tonight if there's a game.
I was going to say, what if it gets rained out?
Well, so I was looking at, again, now I'm in Southern Chester County. I'm about 45 minutes south of the stadium complex. My hourly forecast shows between like 5 and 8:30, there's no rain in the forecast. And then 10 to later, there's like the 8 to 10 window, there's some rain, but that's about it. So they should be able to get the game in tonight, especially with the 6:45 start time. Excuse me. But he pitches tonight, and he pitches on Sunday 2 times. The guy that's supposed to be the best pitcher in our lineup or rotation right now needs to come out and not give up 8 runs, 5 runs. Needs to completely dominate this Marlins team. There literally can be no doubt he needs to come in here and shut the door Aaron Nola tonight. And he needs to do it twice this week. What are we going to get? Are we going to get the 9-inning complete game shutout Nola from 2 starts ago, or the completely lost on that mound 2 of the last 3 starts Aaron Nola? I don't know what we're going to get tonight.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I am concerned because I don't have the updated stats through 2021, but through 2020 in 27 starts, Nola was 7-14 with a 4.28 ERA. It does not bode well. We know that it's been well documented his September swoon, and I'm very concerned that
it's really weird, isn't it? Like, why do certain players, whether they're pitchers or hitters, like Kyle Schwarber, July, always great. Aaron Nola, always in September, is really bad. Like, why do these pitchers and these hitters have specific months? It's like everything is unpredictable, except everything is predictable. And Aaron Nola struggling in September is so predictable. Like, why? What is it with these guys that they have specific months that they suck and strive in or thrive in? It's kind of insane.
That's a great question, man. I think you should.
I don't know why.
I think you should do some research and do a deep dive into.
It confuses the hell out of me why players struggle.
I mean, I think with pitchers, it could have something to do with like the workload and just guys tiring out. I don't know if that's the case with Nola.
Yeah,
but it sure seems so. It seems like his velocity kind of dips in September. And
so last year in September, you didn't have his numbers. You said last year in September, he pitched for the month a 6.19 ERA. He had 6 starts. He never made it past 6 innings was the longest start. He had a 6, a 3, a 3, a 1, a 6, and a 3. They were his runs given up those games. And he was walking guy. He walked a couple batters each game too.
Oh, man. That's bad.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Not good at all.
Okay, man. I am concerned.
But also, let's be honest. He did not have a good season to begin with last year.
Well,
you know what I mean? He finished the season with a 4.63 ERA. He had a 4.28 in August. He did have a 3.81 in May or in July. He had a 6 ERA in June, a 4.55 in May. His best month was April, which is normally one of his his worst month. So it's not like he pitched well last year and it was just 1 month. But Aaron Nola needs to, he's making $15-16 million a year.
I mean,
He wants to be the ace. He wants to be a Cy Young candidate again. Dude, forget about last year. Forget about the last 5 years. Time to step up.
in 2018, the year he almost won the Cy Young, he struggled in September.
Yeah.
He didn't
probably didn't he have his last 2 starts were where he struggled? I'm going to pull it up. I pull it up really quickly. I believe his last 2 starts cost him that Cy Young.
It did.
No, it wasn't the last 2. It was his last start. I just pulled up 2018. He actually pitched really well in the last start.
It might have been the 2 prior.
It was 3 starts, but it was that rest of that month. Yeah. So that year in 2018, wow, that was so good. 2018. In August, he had a 106 ERA. In July, he had a 191 ERA. May, he had a 1.8 ERA. Jeez, that was good. And then he goes and has a 3.72 ERA in the month of September.
It is. It's not. It does not bode well right now. I'm very.
It does not. So, but I was looking. He's pitched against the Marlins twice this year. I don't know if this holds up over his career, but his last start in July, 8 1/3, 4 innings. Back in June, he went 7 innings, 2 runs. So he's 2-0 this year against the Marlins. He pitches well. Look, this weather outside is right for a pitcher to come in and shut an offense down. It's going to be cool. It's going to be wet. It's going to be damp. The ball's not going to travel. It's not going to be like 40 degrees like in the beginning of April or in October, but it's going to be 60 degrees or so. It's going to be wet. This is the type of game where Aaron Nola comes out and should dominate. But
Good.
You got to think about the psyche too. He knows he struggles in September. He's got to know that. He just had 2 of his worst starts in his last 3 outings. There's a lot of pressure on him. Can he do it? It's really got to be something. Can we expect Nola to turn it around?
I mean, you would like to think so, and you hope so, obviously, but the numbers tell you differently. The numbers tell you
a lot differently.
He is in trouble. So
he really is.
What he needs to do is he needs to, I don't know, man. He needs to channel his inner beast mode and say, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to affect me now. I'm gonna be different. I firmly believe that, as I said, I think just like it is with hitting, I think it's mental.
Yeah.
I think Nola needs to kind of convince himself that that doesn't define him. September is not a defining.
I really got to find a sports psychologist to come on the show to talk about the mental aspect of athletes. I really want to do that interview because that mental aspect of it, that psychology behind always struggling, letting it get, I was watching look, it's a stupid football movie, but I love it. The Replacements. I was watching it yesterday at work.
Awesome.
Great movie. Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman. I mean, the cast is great in that movie. But after they lose their first game, the replacement players, they're in the locker room and they're talking about fears. And my man right there, see, there's his jersey, Sugar Shane Falco, from the Replacements, hanging up right there. He talks about his fear of quicksand. Things they snowball as an athlete. One thing goes wrong, then another thing and another thing. I mean, it's actually a pretty legit and deep reference. You know what I mean? And Aaron Nola, he falls into quicksand when it comes to September, and he keeps trying and trying. He keeps getting worse and worse, and it's something that I'd really love to learn a little bit more about from a sports psychologist.
Well, and you're right. Maybe he needs to see a sports psychologist. But the thing is I believe that as a player, he can fix it. I believe if he talks to, I know this sounds weird, but he needs to get in his own head and tell himself September's not a defining moment for Nola. Nola
just change the calendar back to July and make him think it's July 14th or something like that.
Shit, I would do that in a second.
Yeah. We tap into all his phones, his car radio, anywhere that there's a date, and just change it all.
I mean, listen, like I said, I think you're spot on. Nola is the number one most important player this week.
Even if he wasn't pitching twice, if he was just pitching once this week, I would still put him because he's got to set the tone for the rest of the starting rotation.
I think he's the number one important player for this month because you don't know if you're getting Wheeler back. Like, honestly, like, we need Nola to be Nola. Like, there's no excuse.
Nola to be Cy Young Nola.
There's no excuse because you got to get this thing righted. The sinking ship.
Sorry.
You're good.
Choking on my coffee. Aaron Nola's got me choking here. Real quick, before we move on to the Eagles' top 3 most important players this week, which I've got a lot of people listed. I got some comments on Twitter I want to get into with them as well. The Phillies are going up against Jesus or Jesus, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Luzardo tonight. He's 3-6, got a 3.44 ERA. He has not pitched against the Phillies this year. I don't know if he has in his previous starts or years in the league. He's last 5 outings. He's given up 5 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, 4 runs, 0 runs. So another mixed bag of randomness from this kid. Do you know this guy? And what are we facing tonight in this young 24-year-old left-handed pitcher?
I mean, he's a nice young prospect, which the Marlins seem to churn out in the pitching staff.
Always.
Every single year they have like multiple guys, and then they end up trading them or somewhere else. But I think he's a guy that he's got a good fastball, and he's gonna kind of, as you mentioned, he's inconsistent. He's not obviously a finished product. So 4 years old. I mean, you really can't expect these guys to be, there's not too many Justin Verlanders. Let's be honest. Guys that just come into the league and dominate. But no, listen, this is the kind of pitcher that the Phillies struggle against.
Absolutely.
The ones that are inconsistent that, for some reason when we face them, we can't get a hit. And that's because, once again, it goes back to approach, plate discipline. Like, why can't we go up there with a plan? Like, let's let these guys just throw some pitches. Don't swing at everything. Don't swing at the first pitch. Let the game come to you. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. That's why I think this team struggles so much. They're already a streaky team, and they just make it so much easier for pitchers to kind of get them out because they don't have a good plan when they go up there.
Yeah. All right. So I got the Phillies winning tonight. They do break out of their stuff. I'm not saying they're going to go on this huge run this week. I'm saying they win a complete game from Aaron Nola because the game's going to get called in the 5th or 6th inning because of rain. That's my prediction. They win by default because of a rain-shortened game, and we get to the point before Aaron Nola blows up, and then the game gets called because of rain. Do you got them winning tonight, Jason?
I mean, I think it's a must-win. Honestly, I do. I think.
Yeah, I'll tell you, tomorrow's going to be a fiery show tomorrow if they come out and shit the bed today.
I think Aaron Nola will go 7 innings, and I think he'll give up 2 runs, and I think the Phillies will win 5-4.
Okay. All right. We're going to now transition to Eagles because we are building up to Eagles-Lions Week 1 season kickoff. Super excited. Can't wait. It's just like a September. We can bitch and moan about the Phillies all we want, but football, new life. Everybody's here. Everybody's got a chance at this point. All right. KC jumping in here earlier today. Bart Scott compared the Eagles roster to the Mark Sanchez Jets situation. I got to hear that more. Like, I got to listen to that clip because why and stuff. Because hey, they made a run to late in the playoffs. They get to the championship game 2 years in a row. Was it 2 years in a row that Sanchez led them to the championship game in the AFC way back then? I don't even remember much about those teams and why they lost in the playoffs and what happened. But Jalen Hurts is way better than Mark Sanchez. You got to put him in it. So anyway, my Eagles, in my opinion, the top 3 most important players this week. And obviously, I'm going to have Jalen Hurts on it this week. But let me say, I'm going to be doing these graphics regularly, I think. And it's not always going to have Jalen Hurts on it. This week it does. So here's my top 3 most important Eagles this week. And I've got 2 or 3 people that have commented on Twitter that I'm going to get to theirs. I'm going to get to yours too. But I got Miles Sanders 3, Jordan Davis 2, and Jalen Hurts number 1. Now let me backtrack a little bit here. Miles Sanders has played a couple practices, and that's it in the last 4 weeks. But he's back to basically practicing full bore now. Detroit is one of the worst rush defenses in football. Yeah, we want to see Jalen Hurts air it out. We want to see that Hurts to A.J. Brown connection. But the way you beat the Lions is on the ground first. And then you can air it out later if you have to. Miles Sanders is the lead back on this team. I don't want to see an even split between the three running backs. To me, Miles Sanders still needs to have more touches than the other 2 or 3 running backs on this team. I think it's very important that Miles Sanders can come out and set the tone right away.
I mean, I can't. I think you're spot on today with these with your lists. I think Miles Sanders.
I don't know that they're not one of the worst run defense. That's the great thing about Week 1. You kind of got to go up against what we saw last year. They brought in Aiden Hutchinson. That was their big move with their number 2 overall pick, an edge rusher, a rookie edge rusher. I don't know. I'm assuming that they haven't really improved that defense too much. So number 2, I got Jordan Davis, Jason, because I don't know about you, but at least fantasy purposes wise, the number 1 weapon that this offense of the Detroit Lions has is not Jared Goff. It's not Amon Ross St. whatever Brown his name is. It's DeAndre Swift. And DeAndre Swift, when he's healthy, which is normally the beginning of the year, because he never stays healthy for the full year. Jordan Davis, I guess Fletcher Cox and the other guys too. We've got to stop DeAndre Swift. And I want to see Jordan Davis out there right from the get-go, playing with the ones as much as possible, 55% of the snaps, clogging up that middle so DeAndre Swift and even the other guy, what's his name, Javonte Williams or Jerome Williams, the number 2 running back there, can't get it going. Because if you can shut that run down, then this new pass rush we've built can get at Jared Goff, no problem. So I've got Jordan Davis, number 2. Number 1, obviously, Jalen Hurts. Look, this is the season for him. And this is the season to prove the doubters wrong, to prove the truthers right, whatever it may be, prove himself right, to earn that contract, whatever it may be. I think it's super important for Jalen Hurts to come out and just set the tone right from Week 1. Put no doubt in anybody's mind. Will he? I don't know. I know there's a lot of people out there that think they're going to start slow. And I do buy that belief a little bit, that there is a possibility that they start slow. But it's up to Jalen Hurts to set the trend right from the get-go, set the tone right from the get-go, and start this off on the right foot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, obviously, Jalen Hurts is the number 1 important player for the whole season, not just this week. As a whole, like, it's going to – this team will go – this team's ceiling will be as far as Jalen Hurts can take them. Like, that's the honest.
Literally no doubt in my mind about that.
And that's an honest to God fact. I mean, because we know that, Howie Roseman's went into the future and, he's accumulated some draft picks. So we know that quarterback, if Jalen Hurts doesn't have, the year that most people are expecting, I mean, with the weapons that they got, I mean, this town's going to be like back to like doing what it does always, the quarterback controversy. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, I think there's going to be growing pains. I think absolutely what I saw as far as the way that this team kind of spent preseason with more of a, lackadaisical approach, to kind of, the training camps were just kind of really not, there wasn't a lot of hitting going on.
Or Westchester training camps.
Yeah. I mean,
us old heads missed the days of Lehigh and Westchester and two-a-days and pads 17 times.
Old school football, yes.
It's just not the way us old heads have to just get used to the fact that that's never going to be the way again. What?
This is the new NFL, I guess.
Yeah, it is. That's why NFL stands for not for long. Things change, on a regular basis. So am I putting too much emphasis and pressure on Jordan Davis and his importance week 1? Will we even see Jordan Davis 50% of the snaps this week? Because obviously Fletcher Cox and Hargrave, they're the listed starters. We know the Eagles like to run that rotation on the defensive line. Am I putting too much emphasis on Jordan Davis? Because I want to see a lot of them. I think this team is better off if we see a lot of them. But He is a rookie. We still have 2 excellent players ahead of him. We really don't know what this system is going to look like on defense. Am I hoping for too much too soon? Like we're not putting any emphasis on Nakobe Dean because there's 3 or 4 linebackers ahead of him that are going to play. There's multiple guys ahead of Jordan Davis, but yet I'm putting hope that we see a lot of him right from the get-go. Am I pushing too hard? Am I reaching too far on Jordan Davis too soon?
No, Jordan Davis was the number 1 pick in the draft.
I think that's my
the 14th pick, the Eagles' number 1 pick. Like they used that pick.
They traded up for
later.
Well,
yeah, and they traded up. They moved up and they traded the later pick to get AJ Brown. So they didn't even use that top pick to get Brown. They drafted Davis. So they obviously think highly of him. I think we've talked about. I'm looking at Fletcher Cox as a guy that I think can be very successful if his minutes are pushed back. I think he's shown when he's fresh, he plays better. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you're really putting pressure on the guy. I think honestly, what I saw from Jordan Davis in the preseason, I get it that it's not against wasn't good teams and it wasn't their first team offenses, but I mean honestly, Jordan Davis is a house. I mean, if you want to stop the run, the number one way to stop the run is to have big, giants in the middle, and that's what Jordan Davis is. I mean, I don't think.
And I get this is George's comment is exactly why I said, am I putting too much emphasis on him? Because his snap count in college, he wasn't on the field for a great deal. He was out there for first and seconds. That's it,
which is fine.
And
you don't need him to be there every game.
Is 50% of the snaps too much to ask for from our number 1 pick? Like the Eagles to use him for 50. Like, I'm sure he wants to be out there for more than that. But I'm saying, is that too much for the fans to hope for or expect from him?
I mean, it depends on how the games are going. If you do see him in there 50% of the time, it probably, to me, will signal that the Eagles' defense is being successful. Yeah. I think if they're struggling, you're not going to see as much of him. Mm-hmm. I think if the team's winning and they're playing well, you'll see a lot more of them. I think it depends on the seat. It depends on how the other guys perform too. Like, how is Fletcher Cox performing? Listen, I could put Brandon Graham on this list as being one of the most important players.
Well, I'm going to get that's funny that you say that. So I'll pull this comment off. Scotty saying, I think Scotty and KC both saying they think they ease them in, and it's hard to stop week 1, keep those vets going. I've got Mark Moscatelli, part of Team DSM. He commented on my post on Facebook or on Twitter. He says he thinks Fletcher Cox is on that top 3 list, not Jordan Davis. So there's somebody saying it's going to be Fletcher Cox, not Jordan Davis. That's important. I got this guy here. Where's his name? Stormin Norm. I'm not sure who he is. He follows me. We haven't really interacted too much. He says the number 1 most important people for the Eagles this week is not Jalen Hurts or any of the offensive guys. It's the edge rushers group as a whole. He didn't answer the question with names. He picked the whole group. He put the edge rushers, which is the Brandon Grahams of the world, the Josh Sweats of the world. Those guys coming off the edge, more important than the guys in the middle this week. So who's more important then? The guys coming off the edge or the guys in the middle this week? I'm leaning towards the guys in the middle because you got to stop DeAndre Swift to stop the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, the problem with Detroit, and listen, a lot of people look at Jared Goff as being like just not a good quarterback. And that's really so far from the truth. I mean, the guy was a number 1 pick in the league, ahead of Wentz, by the way. And he did well with the Rams. The problem was Goff he's inconsistent. I look at Detroit as a team that obviously they're not ready yet. You mentioned that in the show yesterday. Like, they're a team that, yes, they're building the right way. But Jameson Williams isn't even going to play until probably November. So they kind of drafted him and almost punting on this year. He's not really going to play. But the other wide receivers on that team are really unknowns. I mean, DJ Shark is a guy that I wanted the Eagles to sign. Like,
I know
he's
you were all
actually
over you were pining for that guy right there.
he's not a bad wide receiver. I'm telling you, like, it's not like they have bums out there. But what I'm saying is, yeah, they're not guys that you just kind of look on paper and say, "Oh my God, that unit scares the shit out of me."
George, you must be reading my Twitter account right now because that Storm and Norm guy as well. He put the edge rushers as the most important, and he put the linebackers, not the safeties or the D line, as the number 2 most important aspect. Again, he didn't pick players. Like the title of the show is, he went more along the lines of groups, but he agrees with you. He thinks the linebackers are super important this week. And I thought about that because you not only do you have to worry about the intermediate game, you do have to worry about TJ Hawkinson and which Eagles linebacker is going to be assigned to him. And you talk about DJ Chark. Hawkinson is one of the most underrated tight ends in football. Do you remember early 2 years ago when Tyler Higbee, was it week 1 or week 2, put up 2 or 3 touchdowns against our linebackers in that game against the Rams? That is something that if we're supposed to have this improved linebacker core now. You got Edwards, 1 more year experience. Kazir White, Sonrag's a linebacker technically, whatever. You've got, N'Kobe Dean. You got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Somebody's going to have to stop T.J. Hawkinson. It's going to be a huge test for the linebackers this week.
Okay, so I guess I can't.
Your new name, George, is Storm and Norm.
I guess so. This list is players, so I can't pick a coach. I can't say Nick Sirianni is the most important thing.
No, I told you. You said you got to change your schedule. You won't be here tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking coaches. Today we're talking players.
Okay, why? Because I think Nick Sirianni is the most important,
absolutely,
out of anybody. To in week 1, I want to see that he learned from his mistakes from last year. That they actually come out and do try to run the ball instead of like just all of a sudden going back to default, trying to pass the ball because we got A.J. Brown and we got these weapons. I get it. Yes, you're going to pass the ball more and you want to see a progression and you want to see improvement. But the key to winning the game is to run the ball. As you said, their defense is not good. Their run defense, that is.
And again, back to the other points of everybody else, we haven't had much work. There's going to be a quote-unquote, feeling out process, slow start process, whatever you want to say. Easiest way to ease an offense into a game or into a season is you run the ball. You got the best rushing offensive line in football. You run the ball. It's a lot easier to run block than pass block. It's a lot easier to push forward than figure out your schemes, dropping back into pass protection. It's a big difference.
I agree. I think the key is.
Hey, and my man Storm and Norm put running game at 3. I put just Miles Sanders because again I was picking specific players, but that guy also agreed. He that running the football and the Eagles' running attack is going to be so crucial this week.
Yeah, I mean,
who else was on Mark's list? Mark had Fletcher Cox, A.J. Brown 2, and Jalen Hurts 1. I know everybody's hyped to see that A.J. Brown first game and all. I just don't know if we're going to get it. We're not going to get a play-action pass, deep bomb to A.J. Brown on the first play of the game. This is not the way this team is going to – we don't know that. Maybe we do. But the odds say, in my opinion, that's not going to be what happened. I did see someone on Twitter responded to something I posted yesterday, and now that we're saying this, that they think that A.J. Brown – and Jalen Hurts are going to have a week 1 like Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick had week 1 of the Starship 7, whatever that year was called with that duo there where they were just – they put up like 500 yards of offense between the two of them that week 1 game against Washington back then. Someone thinks that that's going to be the game plan and the way this game plays out. I don't know.
Wentz had a big game with with Deshaun Jackson in the first game, remember, against Washington, when Deshaun went for like the 2 touchdowns and then he got hurt the next game and he was out for the year. Like, everyone was all excited. Deshaun's back. Threw like
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just expecting a very slow, passive start to the game from the offense. Not passive, conservative, I should say. Start to the game.
I mean, I can't disagree with you. It wouldn't shock me if they do try to do something, neat with AJ Brown, because like I said, AJ Brown is so versatile. The thing is he can beat you on the deep ball, but he's a guy that's going to beat you run after the catch. I mean, he's just so physical at the point of attack, and I'm just excited to see what AJ Brown's presence on this field does for the other guys. I'll tell you my breakout guy. I think Goddard is the guy that goes off this week. I really do. I am so high on Goddard.
I've already started filling out my DraftKings lineups for this week, and I have zoned in based off of price and what I think how it's going to play out. I do like Dallas Goddard a lot this week. To have a
I have a touchdown.
I mean, is this a break? I don't think you can say any game's a breakout game for him because we already know that he's a really, really top tier tight end. Maybe the league doesn't know it, but I can see Dallas Goddard going for 5 for 85 and a touchdown, or 6 and 90 and a touchdown, something like that this week. Absolutely, and I think if he goes for 5 or 6 catches, 85, 90 yards and a touchdown, that's a huge plus for us.
Absolutely. But and I guess that's kind of where I'm going with it. I think AJ Brown.
You forgot Hurts is elite.
Everyone's looking at.
If you're going to put all those hashtags together, George, you better add Hurts is elite to it as well.
Yeah. Dream team, don't bother playing the season.
I don't even know what the 50 burger means. What does hashtag 50 burger mean? I don't even know.
I mean,
I have no idea what that means.
They're going to put up 50 points, maybe.
I guess. I'm not sure.
George is on fire today. There it goes.
Yeah, Freddie, I really target. I didn't get him in my 2 money leagues. I targeted him. I missed out on him. But I guarantee you, especially this week, I've got 11 lineups pre-reserved already in DraftKings this week that I haven't filled them all out yet. I guarantee you Dallas Goddard will be in 5 or 6. He'll be in over 50% of my DraftKings lineups this week for sure. 50 fantasy points. I don't know. I don't know what 50 burger means. I'm trying to learn. I need to know what the new cool lingo is, what you young kids are slinging around there. I don't know what the cool terms are anymore. 50 points on Detroit. We did it about 15 years ago, so it's bound to happen again. Are you talking about that snowball game? Was that the snow game that we put up 50 points?
LaShawn?
Yeah. LaShawn went off in that game. I was on a cruise for that game. I was watching the cruise ship casino on their TV in the cruise ship casino, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a fun game.
All right. I mean, on a side note, I hate snow games. Let me remind you about that. I hate the weather. I hate bad weather for games. I'm in that there was that poll put out there, or that post, months ago, that should every stadium just be in a dome, and I would.
Yeah, you and I went at it on that.
I would be so happy if I would go to more football games if they were all in a dome. I don't go to football games.
Bill hates the cold.
I hate the cold. That was the I don't know if we put up 50, but that was the Rodney MVP game, I believe, that you're talking about. I don't know if it was 50, but it was close.
Yeah, didn't Lomas Brown come out and say that
the Lions were going to victory? Yeah, he guaranteed victory. Yeah, I'm too young for everything,
Dude, that's showing our age. Lomas Brown, holy crap, dude.
All right, do you have anybody else you want to put on this list of importance for the Eagles this week before we move on?
I think they're secondary. You mentioned the fact that the run defense because of DeAndre Swift, but if we do stop the run, they're going to have to pass. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I've seen in Eagles games, previous seasons, Eagles get beat on that deep ball, and it kind of changes the momentum of the game. So I'm looking at the secondary to step up. I'm looking at obviously Darius Slay. We know we got with him. Bradbury to me is a guy. There's so many mixed feelings about it. Some people are saying Bradbury's overrated. I saw a lot of that going on, when we signed him. I think Bradbury is going to make this team go to the next level as far as our secondary. I know, Slay had a monster year last year as far as his play. but having that secondary guy to help you back there, I mean, they're two different style cornerbacks, but I think as a collective bunch, you have one of the better second. I'm not saying you have the best secondary in the NFL, but you have one of the better secondaries, especially if they're getting Chauncey. I think the secondary is just definitely always important because, like I said, is the pass rush going to come to play? Are they going to put pressure on the quarterback? Because if they don't, once again, we saw how sometimes last year.
I got to address George's comment. Swoop is important. Well, did they rest him? Because we all saw that the Baltimore Ravens dude that wears the costume for the Ravens fan, he tore his ACL or his Achilles, and he's out for the season. So that's why it's important to rest your starters in the preseason. You can't have Swoop getting hurt and then not being able to play or cheer and entertain the fans week one. It's very important to rest everybody in the preseason, not just the players, because then you'd be without a mascot for week one. I don't know if you saw that.
I want to get my picture with Swoop sometime. I just think Swoop is the coolest mascot. I know, not better, obviously, than the Philly Fanatic. I mean, Philly Fanatic
not even close.
Here. Philly Fanatic is like
the greatest mascot in all of sports. Plain and simple. Oh, there's three. There's only two Fanatics. There's the main Fanatic, and there is a understudy, so to say. I didn't know there were three Swoops, though. Did not know that. The understudy Fanatic is much cheaper to rent out for your parties. Just so you
maybe
know.
George is one of the Swoops, and we don't know it.
George would be more like the eagle, the eagle that was in Ace Ventura, the pissed off guy wearing the Eagles costume that fights Ace Ventura at the end of the movie. That would be more George. The old grumpy guy under the mask.
What was his name?
Starts choking Ace Ventura. I don't even remember the name in that.
I'll have to. That's a blast from the past. Ace Ventura.
That was actually just on TV like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was watching at the shop. So Ace Ventura 1 way better than Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls. Just so you know, there's literally no doubt in my mind. All right, we're gonna move on here. We got 5 minutes left of the show. We're gonna do it. We haven't done it in a week or two. What's trending? Our random once in a while segment where we bring up sports Twitter here. We click on what's trending right now in sports. Would you say something about a rhino? But yeah. All right. What's trending in sports right now? U.S. Open 2022 is going on. Obviously, Serena Williams probably ended her career the other night. Excellent, fun matches. Great to watch the legend. Nadal, another legend. His 22-game win streak was snapped last night. I know you're not much of a tennis guy there, Jason, but I've been watching a lot of U.S. Open the last week and a half, mainly because of Serena, but just because of all the legends that are playing right now. It's a dream of mine to go to a U.S. Open match. Go up there to Arthur Ashe Stadium, sit center court. It's not as big of a dream to go to Wimbledon and go sit center court there, but I would love to go see a U.S. Open match someday. There's going to be a lot of wrestling stuff trending right now. You know, big guy here. Braun Strowman's back. Yeah, who cares? Shotani, did he hit another home run last night? Let's see what he did here. Boom. Dead center field with a flick of a wrist. Does Ohtani win the MVP or the Cy Young or both this year?
No, I think Aaron Judge is probably going to win the MVP.
Yeah, Aaron Judge. What's he up to, like 57 home runs at this point, 56 home runs?
So. He's chasing that 62, which obviously a lot of people still consider the record. Since Bonds.
No, it's not the record. It's not in the record book, so it's not
I don't either, but I'm just saying that the people that are hardcore, against the steroid thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got Premier League soccer's trending. Don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about F2, F3 racing. We're going to pass that. Colt Cabana, Vince McMahon. More wrestling stuff trending right now. It's always wrestling stuff trending.
Always minor stuff that's trending.
Yeah, I mean, there's some minor things. I don't even know. Kylian Mbappe is coming for it all. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is. Klay Thompson, he's trending. Probably has to do with his ratings.
What Klay Thompson do?
The ratings for 2K came out. And Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins was trending as well. Klay Thompson is ranked lower than Andrew Wiggins in 2K rating right now.
Did you draft Klay Thompson in the Hoopers?
I did not draft either of those guys. Why are the Buffalo Bills trending right now? Let's see.
Because they're playing tomorrow.
I think Bills. Yeah, maybe it's got to be because of the first game. First thing that pops up is something about Donald Trump and paying.
Oh, I got one for you. Did you see who's going to be performing at the first NFL game?
No, who's
Ozzy?
Oh yeah, I just saw a picture of him. He looked like he was dead. He was like barely able to walk, and now he's going to perform.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Andrew Wiggins is trending also for the same reason, because of his 2K rating and the guys that he's ranked ahead of and the guys he's ranked behind. People are really freaking out over those two. People always freak out to Madden ratings, 2K ratings, and stuff like that. Why do we care so much about their ratings in a video game? I really don't think it matters. It kind of annoys me how much people freak out about that. CM Punk, Dominic Mysterio trending, obviously. The Broncos. Why are the Broncos trending? Are they going to the Super Bowl? I doubt it. Still haven't figured out what I'm doing with that.
That's Georgia's team.
What's that?
That's Georgia's team.
I know it is. Are they playing the Broncos, playing the Seahawks?
Some prop bets because you have the Raiders being your team and George is high on the Broncos. We should do some like prop bets through the season.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays.
Who will have more passing yards? Russell Wilson.
Broncos are bringing in Carson Strong for a workout. Oh, look at that. Carson Strong getting picked up somewhere. That's really going to help them win that Super Bowl. Real Madrid. All right, Packers are the last thing trending here.
KC nailed it about why the ratings are. It's exactly why.
Yeah, gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry. 110%. Agreed. Packers are trending, okay? Let me tell you something. I'm down on the Packers this year to an extent. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. Watch out for fantasy this week. If you do not have, and they are available, look at Kansas City or Green Bay wide receivers, especially on DraftKings. There are a lot of guys that are super, super, super cheap this week in DraftKings. And I got to pull this up here real quick. I got to comment on. There's going to be some money to be made by people.
Who's Green Bay playing?
I'm pulling it all up right now. Give me 1 second here. I got to pull up the entire Green Bay game here on my screen. Green Bay week 1 is against Minnesota, and their wide receivers right now. You've got Andre Lazard, questionable. Watson, whoever that guy, young guy, questionable. Right now for $4,700, which is below average, Sammy Watkins, and $3,400, Randall Cobb.
How about
there's a really strong chance Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb are going to be the starting wide receivers in this game for Aaron Rodgers.
Romeo Dubes.
Who?
Romeo Dubes.
He is $3,000 for them right now.
That's who I would go for.
He caught 2 or 3 targets. He was playing deep into a preseason game, so
he's their he was their later round pick. Christian Watson was their high round pick, but he's struggled. Romeo Dubes is actually a sleeper on a lot of people's radars as far as
I wouldn't spend money on him week 1 in DraftKings just because there's too much of a risk there. I'm looking at Sammy Watkins week 1, but for the bigger picture for the season, sure, definitely take a look at him because if these guys, I mean, let's be honest, Cobb and Sammy Watkins don't stay healthy. And Lazard's
Sammy Watkins to me is a very intriguing name. He's a guy that he was drafted. I believe he was like the 2nd or 3rd round pick. I mean, he was a 1st round pick. I'm sorry, 2nd or 3rd pick in the draft. I can't remember what year it was, but he's just never put it together. He has a ton of talent.
He's never been able to stay healthy.
Who drafted Watkins? Was it Kansas City?
No, he played for Kansas City
remember.
the last few years. Buffalo. He was in Buffalo.
Okay. I couldn't remember who drafted him, but
I'm pretty sure it was Buffalo Bills.
I just think he's always injured. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think he's injured.
But he's healthy right now, and he's going to be the top
Aaron
target.
Rodgers'
Rodgers.
number one
So a
target.
week 1 DraftKings play is Sammy Watkins, in my opinion. Yeah, Bills drafted him. Yeah, got it. All right, we're going to wrap up Trending the AM right there for this day here. Tomorrow, we're going to talk coaches. We're going to see Rob Thompson. We're going to continue that Rob Thompson conversation. Nick Sirianni, Jason already dropped the tidbit on that. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on this video, please. We'd greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a great wet Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow with more Training the AM. Everybody have a great day. Go
Bring it
Birds.
up.
And Philadelphia has it.